Hello students, in this class we are going to learn about PHP conditional statements, right? So what is a conditional statement? Conditional statements are used to perform different actions based on different conditions. So when you have a lot of conditions to be assessed and performed, so we use this statement called conditional statements. Now in PHP there are four conditional statements. Very often when you write any code, you want to execute different action for different set of conditions. This is where you can use these four conditional statements, right? So in PHP we have this following condition statements. First is if statement. In if statement, what does an if statement do? It executes some code if one condition is true, right? So for example, you would have given one condition that if the system's time is less than 20 hours, then print something, or if the system's time is more than 20 hours, print something, right? So this is basically one condition. So whenever there is one condition, you can use if statement. So next we have if else statement. Now if else statement is same as if, but here there's one more thing. Now what is that? Execute some code if a condition is true, or there's one more condition. If it is not true, then it will be executed one more statement, right? For example, you can write a statement in if it executes, you will print something. If it does not, if the condition is not true, then it will print something else, right? So basically if this is how if else works. Next we have if else, that is nothing but nested if. So this is basically called as nested if. So basically what happens in nested if, it executes different codes for more than two conditions. So if in your program, if you have more than two conditions, you cannot do it within if or if else, right? So you will have to use nested if statement. So this is called as nested if statements. Now the next thing which we have is switch statement. Now a switch statement is nothing but it selects one of many blocks of code to be executed, right? So you'll give a condition in switch. So there are so many different cases, case A, case B, case 1 to 10, case 1 to 20, right? So there are different cases which are there in the switch statement. So whatever you have given the condition, so if it agrees to that, then that particular case will be executed, right? So that is what is switch statement. So these are the four statements which are available in PHP, conditional statements. Now coming to if statement, right? So if statement, what does if statement do? It executes some code if one condition is true, right? So basically this is the syntax for that if, and inside that you will put a condition, code to be executed if condition is true, right? So let us see an example of this. Here I am in my PHP demo folder. Just like I told you in the last class, you will have to create a new folder in htdocs, right? So maybe I'm going to show you once again. So once you open this, you can find local disk C. It will be installed in local disk C. This is the third time I'm installing XAMPP. First two times I had different projects, so I have given different names, XAMPP, XAMPP1. So this is the third time since I've already XAMPP is there. I have given it as XAMPP demo. So when I open this, there's something called htdocs. So you'll have to open the htdocs. Here you'll have to save your folders or files. You can say I've saved a folder called PHP demo, and inside PHP demo I have demo.php. This demo.php. Right, so what should I do now? I should write the code for if. So how to do it? So let me remove all of these things. As I told you, you can include PHP files in your HTML as well, right? In HTML, CSS, whatever you are using, you can directly use PHP in HTML. So for an if statement, what should I do? I have to include if, then I have to give a condition. If condition, open the bracket, close it, print something. Right, so this is basically how if works. Now if I have to see the output of that, I'll have to go here, localhost PHP demo. So before that, I'll have to start my XAMPP. So where to start? I've already installed XAMPP. So you'll have to start your XAMPP to make sure the web server is there. So start this XAMPP, right? So it is started, it is running now in port number 80 and 443. As you can see, you got this output here. So when you click on this, you'll get this output. My first program, let me tell you, this is the my first program. It has been displayed here, but there's a warning here, use of undefined condition. This condition I have to give it inside here. This is only the syntax, right? So you will have to give the if condition over there, right? So let me show you how to do it. So let me remove this first. Let me create a variable x equals, I'm going to create a function. function is already there, date, right? So inside date I'm going to use only hours here, right? Or hours. So now close it. Now I'll have to put an if condition. If you'll have to use the variable name, that is dollar only, $x. $x is less than 20. So now what happens? Open this. So what is the condition which I've given now in if? If $x is less than 20. That means whatever the hours which is stored in the system, date of hours. So if it is less than 20, I'll have to print something. So echo, I'm gonna print good day, right? Control save, go back, refresh. You can see it says good day. Why did it say good day? Because I have already told here it is less than 20. As you can see the time now, it is less than 20, right? So if I change this to greater symbol, right? If I change this to greater symbol, control save and go back and see the output, you can see there's nothing now. Why? Because it is not greater than 20. 24-hour format, right? So it is 1422 here. If you can see it is 1422 here, right? So if it is greater than 20, then only it will display this echo. But right now it is not greater than 20, and that is why we are not able to show our output, right? So this is how you can use if statement, right? Similar way, what we can do is we can also do it for day as well, right? So let me do one thing. Let me change it to D. D means day. H means hours. D means day, right? So date of D. Here I'm going to use $x is equal to Friday, right? So if $x is equal to Friday, I will say good day here, right? So let me go back and check the output of this. Refresh. It's nothing. Why? Because today is not Friday, right? So let me add Tuesday here and check. So I've added this Tuesday now. So I'll save it and go back, and again I'm going to click on it. Now you can see it says good day because today is Tuesday, right? So basically this is how it works. You can also use this, right? So now we're going to see about if else. So now if else. Now what is this if else? If else statement executes some code if a condition is true and another code if the condition is false, right? So basically if the condition is true, a print statement, you will execute a print statement. If the condition is false, you will execute some more statements, right? So this is the syntax of it. If open brackets code to be executed if condition is true, again close the bracket, else again open the brackets, code to be executed if condition is false, right? So let us check this output. Alright, so here what I'm going to do, I am going to make sure that it is Friday, right? So that we'll not get the output of good day here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use else here. Else I'm going to open this bracket. Now echo bad day. Now what happens? Today is not Friday, right? So that is why it will not execute this particular thing. It will execute this particular bad day, right? So let me go and check the output. Refresh. You can see it is bad day. Why? Because today is not Friday, right? So the similar way, if I go and check it as Saturday, if I go back, refresh, again it says bad day, right? Because today is not Saturday. Now again the same way, if I use Tuesday directly here, it will say good day now. So go back, refresh, you can see it is good day, right? So basically this is how if else works, right? So if you want to check some more of the outputs here, you can actually put anything here, right? So maybe I'm going to put it for hours as well here. So H. So what I'm going to do, if $x is less than 20, I'm going to put good day. If $x is greater than 20, I'm going to put bad day, right? So again go back, refresh, you can see it says bad day now. Why? Because $x is not greater than 20. As you can see here, $x is not greater than 20. It is less than 20. And that is why we are printing this statement, right? So this is how you can use if else in your programs. Okay, now we are going to see if else. Now this sounds something, it's like too huge, right? So what we can do is we can call it as nested if. So nested if else, if else, right? So basically this is called nested if. Now what is nested if? Nested if statements execute different codes for more than two conditions. If you want in your program to have more than 2 or 3 conditions, then you can use nested if statements. Now you can see the syntax of nested if statement. If condition code to be executed, if condition is true, so if the first condition is true, the code will be executed. If it is false, again I'm going to put one more condition to that. Again, if it is true, it will be executed. Now again, else, right? So we can actually check this output. So let me show you this. So here, let me just change it to D for the day. Again, I'm going to use here as Friday. Today is not Friday, so still I'm going to use it Friday. So if it is not Friday, if it is Friday, then it is good day. If it is not Friday, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one more if here, if else. So this is the syntax of if else. If else, again $x is equal to Sunday, right? So if it is equal to Sunday, again what you should do, close the semicolons here, you can see, right? So open it, close it, again if else, right? So after if else, again you'll have to put Sunday. Then if it is Sunday, then echo again good day, right? So if it is Sunday, you will echo good day. If it is not Sunday, then again what I'm going to do, again I'm going to put else here. Else, open bracket, echo. If you don't want brackets to be there, no problem. You can put bad day here. Now if I go back and check the output, today is Tuesday, right? And that is why we have to get this bad day. So again refresh, you can see again it says bad day, right? So again let me make some changes. So here I'm going to use it as Tuesday, so our output should be good day here, right? Why? Because in this it is good day. So let me do one thing, let me change it to Friday here, but here I'm going to give it as Tuesday, right? So now again our output should be Tuesday, because first condition will be false and it goes to the second condition, that is if $x is equal to Tuesday. Now Tuesday is correct, today is Tuesday, and that is why we are going to get this output echo good day, right? So this is how you can get your output through nested if. The same way you can do it for R also. Let me change it to R. So if $x is less than 10, I'm going to give it as 10. If $x is less than 10, say good day. If again $x is less than 20, again I'm going to say good day, else I'm going to say bad day. So what is the thing now? If it is less than 10, good day. If it is less than 20, good day. If it is not there, it should say bad day. So answer should be good day now. So go back, refresh, you can see the answer is good day, right? So you can make some changes. If it is greater than, so let me add this greater than 10. Obviously this is greater than 10, right? So let me go back, see the output, it should say again good day, right? The same way you can do all these things. So this is about nested if statement. Now the last conditional statement which we are going to study is the switch statement. Now switch statement is used to select one of many blocks of codes, right? To select only one block in different blocks of code, we are going to use switch statement, right? So this is how the switch syntax is. You can see the syntax here, right? So switch of n, case label 1, code to be executed if label 1, right? So you can use that. So let me go and tell you some examples of how exactly we can use switch. So here let me remove all of these things. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to add my color, right? So I'm going to add color equals, I'm going to add blue, right? So I have added color equals blue now. I've created a variable and in that variable I've added it as blue. Now again switch. Now I have to give the condition. What is that condition? $color. So this is the condition, right? So open this brackets. Now inside this one I'm going to use case red. Now case red, what should you answer? Here I'm going to use echo. It is not red, it is blue, right? So that is why echo wrong, and you will have to use the break statement here. If you don't use the break statement, your program will not be stopped if it is correct, right? So that is why you will have to use break statement for everything. Again case If it is blue, I am gonna use echo color is blue. So let me put it in quotes here. So yes, now again close this, again add break. Again for the next thing case, I am going to use yellow. Now echo, again it is wrong, right? So I have given already it is blue color, so I have to use only blue only when the case is blue, it should echo color is blue. Now again break. Now you will have to use a thing called default here. Now let me tell you default. If nothing is correct here, it will say the default message. So default echo no color found. So if no other cases are correct, it will echo no color found, right? So close it. So I have closed it here. Now if I go back and check the output, refresh, it will say color is blue. Why? Because color is blue here. So if I change it to red, it says wrong. So go back and check the output, you can see it says wrong here, right? So this is how you can use switch. Now let me tell you, I will not give any color now. So I want to get this output, the default output. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use only B here. So now if I go back, refresh, you can see no color found, right? So you can use the switch statements if you have more cases. If you have more code to be executed, more different cases, then you can use switch case to identify the perfect one. Moving on to the next topic, we are going to learn about loops, right? So what is a loop? Loop is basically used to execute the same block of code again and again as long as the certain condition is met. Right, so basically it is used to execute the same code again and again. A basic idea behind a loop is to automate the repetitive tasks within a program to save the time and effort. So PHP supports 4 different loops, right? So you can see these 4 different loops: while, do while, for and for each. Now while is used when loops through a block of code as long as the specified condition is true. Right, so what does do while do? Loops through a block of code once and repeats as long as the condition is true. Right, so there is some difference between this. While it loops through the block of code as long as the condition is true, but here it will loop through the code once, and after once it's going to check for the condition. So basically it executes the code first, then it's check for a condition, but in while it checks for the condition first and then does the code, right? So that is the major difference between while and do while. Next we have for, loops through a block of code a specified number of times. So you will give a specified number of times, maybe like 10 or 20 or 30, right? So whatever number you give there, it loops through that specified number of times. So that is what for loop does. Next we have for each. For each is nothing but loops through a block of code for each element in an array, right? So it loops through a block of code. You can see difference here. For each, the name itself says for each of the element in array, right? So going on, first we are going to study about while loop. This while loop will loops through a block of code as long as the condition is specified in the while statement. So if the condition is true, then the code will be executed, right? So let us see an example of this. So let me remove all of those things here, right? So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable. So let me create a variable called I equals, I'm going to give it as 1. So I've created a variable, I've stored 1 in that. Now I'm going to use while of, I'm going to put the condition. Now that condition can be I is less than or equal to 3. If I is less than or equal to 3, while I is less than or equal to 3, what I'm going to do, I'm going to increment it. I'm going to increment that particular $I. Then I'm going to echo the number is, I'm going to display dot, you'll have to use dot operator, dot I, again dot, I'm going to use BR for line break. Now again close it. Now let me go back and check the output, refresh. There's some error, unexpected brackets at the end of line 24, right? So line 24 is this, so I'll have to remove this. Now control save, go back, you can see it repeats number I2, I3, I4, right? So you can see this number. So first it is I1, then while it is 3, it should increment to next number. So 1 will be incremented to 2. Again, you can see dot I, why $I, because I'll have to get this I here, right? So I2, I3, all those things here. The number I have given here. If I don't want I here, I'll just do this and refresh it. I is not here, right? So you can put the line break as well. You can see the line break works as well. So the first number is 2, 3, 4, right? So if you want, you can give it to 10 as well here. If I is less than or equal to 10, it will go and do it for 10 times. You can see it went on to do it for 10 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So this is how you can use a while loop. So you can give any condition here. It can be less than, if it is less than 10, it will only execute till 10, right? So this is how you can use while loop in your programs. The next thing we have is do while loop. Now what does do while loop and what is the difference between while loop and do while loop? Now do while loop is a variant of while loop which evaluates the condition at the end of each loop iteration. It evaluates the condition at the end of the iteration. It will not evaluate at the first itself, but in while loop the condition is evaluated first. Then the code will be processed later. But here the code will be processed, then the condition is checked. With a do while loop, the block of the code executed once and then the condition is evaluated if the condition is true. The statement is repeated as long as the specified condition evaluated to is true. So this is the syntax of do while loop. You can see do open brackets code to be executed, and here at the last it says for a condition, while condition, right? So let me go and check the output of this. Here I am going to make a small change, right? So let this be here. I am going to change this here. Control X, I am going to paste it here. Here what I am going to do, I am going to put a word called do. So basically this means it is do while now, right? So whatever while was there, I have made sure that it came here, and do I have added this word called do. So this is what is do while, right? So let me show you how to do it. Click on it, yes, right? So if I go back, refresh, again you get the same thing, right? So again if I want, maybe I can do it for 3, 2 and 3. 4 will not appear here, right? Because it checks for the condition last. Now again if you want 4, you can put 4, refresh, 4 is there. So basically this is how your do while loop works. So if you want to check another example, you can give another example as well, right? So you can add this decrement operator and check the difference. So you can see the decrement operator, right? So it is going for almost, it is still refreshing, it is going, right? So this is how it is. If I'm going to give -4 here to make sure it stays there, refresh now, you can see the number 0, it does not take it. But when you give 4 and refresh, it will be, you can see the numbers which are available, right? It will go like this. So let me stop this, right? So this is how you can use a do while loop in your programs. Next we are going to learn about for loop. Now what is for loop? So let us tell what is for loop. For loop is used when you know in advance that how many times you want the script to run, right? So basically for loop is nothing but if you know the number of times you want to repeat, then you can use for loop, right? The for loop repeats a block of code as long as the certain condition is met. It is typically used to execute a block of code for certain number of times, right? That's what I told you, that for a certain number of times, if you want the loop to be executed, then you can use for loop. And in for loop, there are 3 parameters: for, of, init counter, that initialization, next comes the testing, and next comes the increment, right? Initialization is nothing but it is used to initialize the counter variable and evaluated once unconditionally before the first execution of the body. Now what happens in condition? Here you will give your condition, maybe like less than or greater than, less than equal to, right? So all these things are given in your test counter, that is condition. Next we have increment. Increment, the third parameter of for is increment. It updates the loop counter with a new value it is used to evaluate at the end of the each iteration. So it increments after the each iteration, right? So basically this is how for loop looks. So let us see an example of how to use for loop. For the same thing, let me add for loop here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this while here. So let me remove this while. Here what I'm going to do, I'm going to put for of, let me initialize first, initialize $i. So here we don't require this. You can do it in the same statement, $i equals 1, right? So again a condition, $i less than 3 or less than or equal to 3, again semicolon, I'm going to use the increment, right? So you don't have to do this. All the three things can be done in a single line. Now here the same thing, let it be there. Now again go back and refresh. There's some error here, so let me go and check the error. Let me open this first. If you don't want to open it, that is also fine. Refresh. You can see you got the same output here, right? So basically it is just like a while loop, but all the three statements are in a single statement here, inside a single for loop. I equals 1, I less than 3, I plus plus. The same way, if you want, you can decrement it here as well. So let us check what happens if we decrement it. Refresh. You can see all the decremented values are available here, right? So basically this is how you can use for loop in your program. So this is called as initialization, this is called as condition, and this is called as increment counter, right? So again let me refresh. You can see the output, right? So if you want to give line breaks for any other things, you can directly give it here, right? So this is how you can use for loop in your programs. Next we are going to learn about for each loop, right? So let us check what is for each loop. For each loop is nothing but it works only for arrays, because for element and array, right? So for particular element, this for loop, for each loop is executed. It is used to iterate over arrays, right? So you can see for each of array name as value, as you have to take it. So before that, what we are going to do, we are going to see what is an array, and let us understand different types of array, right? So arrays are nothing but arrays are complex variables that allows us to store more than one value of a or group of values under a single variable name, right? So this is what array does. Let's suppose if you want to store colors in your PHP script, what you can do, storing the colors by one variable could look something like this. So maybe I am just going to show this. So let me remove this. So if you want to store colors using variables, it looks something like this. Color 1 equals, if you want to store red, you are storing red here. Again for color 2, you are going to do color 2 equals blue or something, right? So it takes a lot of time to type all of those things, and that is why we are going to use arrays, right? So basically there are three types of arrays which are available. The first type is your indexed array, right? So indexed array is nothing but an array that stores each element with a numeric index. So with a numeric index, the value is stored. So that is called as indexed array. For that, an example, let me show you an example of that. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to add variable first. Color is equal to, I'm going to create an array. This is how we create an array. Again in array, I'm going to store red, blue and green, RGB, right? So now if I want to display it, what I can do variable dump as well here. Variable dump of that color. So let me add color. So it will tell the array string and all. So yes, close it. Again go back. Refresh. You can see array. There are three elements in array. First element is red. So this is the numeric index. This 0, 1 and 2. So basically there are three elements in that array, right? So this is called as indexed array, right? So if you want, you can give it directly here, like color of 0 equals red, right? So this is how it works, right? So in spite of that, we are going to use directly like this, right? So next we have is associative array. Associative array is nothing but key value pair. So the keys assigned to value can be arbitrary and user defined strings. Now in the following example, I'm going to show you how associative arrays are used. Let me remove this. So this is an example of indexed array. For an associative array, what you can do, you can use $ages equals, I'm going to create an array. After creating an array, what I'm going to use, I'm going to give my name. Here I'm going to use association, that is this operator. So I'll have to close this here, then I'll have to commit like this. Again I'm going to give age, my age is 22, right? So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to close it like this. Now if I want to display it, maybe let's check variable dump here. I'm going to use variable dump of $ages, right? So here if I go back and check the output, you can see association variable, right? So you can see my name and int of 22. So this is what association variable arrays does. Again, if you want to give one more, you can just put comma and you can write any other name. Again, association 22 or 20, right? So again, if I want, I can just refresh it. You can see this, right? So this is how associative arrays are used. It depends on your particular program about how you want to store the data or how you want to display the data, right? So it completely depends on you. So you can do that, right? So that was the second one, that is associative array. Then we have multi-dimensional array. Now what is multi-dimensional array? An array inside an array is called as multi-dimensional array. So empty array is an array with which each element can also be an array, and each element in sub-array can be an array or further array. Right? Basically, this is like collection of arrays inside an array. So let me give you an example of that. So let me store contacts, right? So contacts equals, I'm going to create an array, and inside that the first element, what I'm going to do, again I'm going to create an array for first element. Now here I'm going to put name, right? So association, so let me do it here, association, I'm going to use my name, right? So after that, this is the first element. After that, if I want to give the second element, I can put age, again I'm going to use 22 or 25, right? So this I have covered. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to give comma here, then again comma here, right? So I finished this. Now again after that I'm going to create one more array, right? So basically this is how you can create your different arrays. So let me go back, check the output of this. Let me add variable dump. Variable dump of contacts. Go back, refresh. There's some error, variable dump. Okay, it does not take variable dump here, right? So if I want, I can display it here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to display it. Now how do I display it? Echo name. What I'm going to use? I'm going to use dollar contacts of 0, that is first element, right? So I'm gonna close it here, refresh. There's some error, unexpected echo. So let me check what you have to close this array here, right? You can see array to string conversion is wrong. So arrays to string conversion is wrong. So let me check. So maybe add one here. So refresh. Again, you can find name, right? So offset name, you are getting name here, right? So again, what I'm going to use, I'm going to use name. Okay, this should be 0 here, right? So it should be 0. Control save, go back, check the output. You can see name Nithin. If you want, you can give the BR here so that it will be useful for you, right? So again, refresh. You can see name and Nithin. Why did his name come? This particular name. 0 means this name, and inside that this name means this, right? So this is how you can use arrays. So in for each, so let us understand for each using an array, right? So for each is nothing but for every element you are gonna traverse, right? So let me check. Let me show you how to use for each loop. So here let me just remove it. So let me create one more array called colors, right? So colors is equal to, I'm going to create an array of, I'm going to create red, blue and green. So close this array. Now I'm going to use for each. So you can see this for each of colors. So basically array name as value, we'll have to use this array name as value, close it, open the brackets. Inside that I'm going to echo something, echo, I'm going to use value now, right? So we'll have to use this value dot I'm going to use BR so that it should be in the next line. So now refresh. You can see all the three different things are displayed here, right? So red, blue and green is displayed on the screen here. So likewise, you can use for each in your programs. Now we are going to learn about next thing called functions. Now what is a function? So let us understand function. Function is a self-contained block of code that performs a specific task. So basically this is a block of code that will perform a specific task. Now PHP has huge collection of internal and built-in functions that you can call directly within your PHP script to perform a specific task, right? So for example, get type or print or variable dump or dollar variable and all those things are nothing but your predefined function, built-in functions. And also PHP will show you to create your own functions, right? So PHP user defined functions, it is called as PHP user defined function. Now let me tell you, in addition to built-in functions, PHP also allows you to define your own functions. It is a way to create reusable code packages that perform specific tasks and be kept and maintained separately for main program, right? So here are some advantages. You can see some advantages here. A function reduces the repetition of code. So let me tell you, a function user defined function reduces the repetition of code within a program. So function allows you to extract commonly used block of code into a single component. Now you can perform the same task by just calling that particular function wherever you want within your script, without having to copy and paste the same block of code again and again. So it reduces the repetition of code when you are using a program or functions, right? So next thing is functions make the code much easier to maintain, right? So it is very easier for us to maintain the functions. So since functions created once can be used many times, any changes made inside a function automatically is implemented at all the places without touching several files. So basically once you create a function and if you do any changes in that particular function, it will be executed wherever it is implemented, right? So it is very much easier to maintain it. Now functions makes it easier to eliminate the errors as well. So when the program is subdivided into functions, if any error occurs, you know what function is causing that error and where to find it as well, right? So therefore fixing errors becomes much easier when you use user defined functions or functions. Now functions can be reused in other applications as well. Now because a function is separated from rest of the script, it is easy to reuse the same function in other application just by including the PHP file containing those functions, right? So you can include all of those things and you can see a function will be executed by a call to a function. Basically you will have to call a function if you have to execute that particular function, right? A function is a block of statements that can be used repeatedly in a program. A function will not execute automatically when a page loads. Now this is an example of how to create a user defined function, right? A user defined function declaration starts with the word function, that is function name of parameters, open brackets, code and close brackets, right? A function name must start with a letter or an underscore, right? Function name are not case sensitive, right? So you can use any type of functions over there. It is not case sensitive, but remember it should start with a letter or an underscore and then only your function name will work, or else it will not work, right? So let us see an example. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a function. So let me remove this. So I'm going to create a function called today, right? So let me add function what is today, right? So what is basically today? So I'm going to open this. Inside that function I'm going to echo today is, right? So inside that today is, I will use date function here, that is predefined function, date of 1 comma mk time, format a local time, mk time. I'm going to open this and close it. So I've closed the function here. Now if I go back and check the output, refresh, there's nothing. Why? Because we have not called that function. We have defined the function but we have not called it yet. To call the function, I will have to use again the function name, what is today, and open and close it. So this will call the function now. So again go back, refresh. You can see today is 1, right? So if you want, you can change the number to 20 and again go back, refresh. You can see that it is 20, and you can use BR to make sure that it is there, a space is given there, right? So this function is called a function without parameters. You can see there is no parameters here, right? So there is nothing here. Now there is one more type of function where function with parameters. Now what is that function with parameters? In function with parameters, you can specify parameters when you define your function to accept input values at runtime. To accept that input values at runtime, you can use this parameters. The parameters work like a placeholder variables within a function. They are replaced at the runtime by the values provided to a function at the time of invocation. So let me tell you how to do it. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a function called add. So I've created a function called add. Again, I'm going to give a variable names here, number 1, comma. There are 2 numbers, so basically 2 numbers I have given. This is comma here. So right. So here let me remove this. First let me add it. So I'm going to here add it. Sum is equal to, I'm going to add number 1 plus number 2. Number 1 plus number 2. Close it. Echo. Now I'm going to add sum of 2 numbers. So sum of 2 numbers, right? So let me add this as well, number 1, and so it will tell you the numbers which are used here, right? So number 1 and number 2 is. So now what I'm going to use? I'm going to use sum, right? So I'm going to use sum and close it. Now again close this as well. Now here I'm going to invoke it, and here I'm going to give the parameter. So I'll give a parameter called 10, 20. Now here it will take 10, 20 and give us the output. So the output would be 30. Go back and refresh. You can see sum of 2 numbers 10 and 20 is 30. Addition. Now if you want to do it for multiplication, you will just have to say change this symbol, multiplication symbol. The answer should be 200 now. You can see the answer is 200 now. Correct? So this is how you can use functions with parameters, right? So there's one more way of actually creating a function. Now this is called as returning values from a function. How to return a value from a function? So a function can return a value back to the script that called that function using a return statement, right? So this value can be of any type, maybe arrays, objects, right? So all this can be done. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just make it plus again. So here I'm going to use nothing. So here I'm going to use return, I'm going to use sum. So basically I will not use that particular thing, but here I'm going to use echo. Echo sum is, right? So here I'm going to use echo sum is, and again close it, again echo, I'm going to use dollar, the function name. You can directly use function name here, right? So add of 10, 20. Refresh. The sum is 30. This also works the same way, but here I'm going to use a return value, right? So this value will be returned to this particular thing, right? So this will, the process or the addition will take place inside the function itself, but I will return this value to this particular function name, and that is why I'm going to get this output called 30 here, right? So this is how you can use returning values from function. Now let us study about global keyword. Now what is a global keyword? Now there may be a situation when you need to import a variable from the main program into a function, or vice versa. In such cases you can use a global keyword before the variables inside a function. This keyword turns the variable into a global variable keyword, making it visible or accessible both inside and outside the function. So basically if you want the variable to be accessed outside or inside the function, you can use global keyword, right? So let us see an example of that. So let me remove this. Here I'm going to use, I'm going to create a global keyword called greet. Greet equals hello world. So I've created a global variable here, right? So again I'm going to define a function, you can see function, right? So I'm going to give the name as test. Let me open the brackets here. It should not be square brackets, it is flower brackets, right? So here I'm going to use global keyword here, right? So global, again I'm going to use greet, enter, echo, I'm going to use again greet. So basically these two will print your hello world. So let me close the function. After closing the function, I'm going to call the function here, that is test. After that I'm echo the greet variable, right? So basically these two will show us the output of hello world, right? So let us check the output, refresh. You can see hello world and hello world, right? So two hello world. Why? Because test, this function is also greet and echo will also tell greet, right? So after that, what I'm going to use, I'm going to assign a new string for hello world. I'm going to give it as goodbye. Enter. Again I'm going to call test. Again I'm going to echo $greet. Now if I go back and check the output, refresh, you can see it says goodbye now. Why did it say goodbye? Because I have already told here I am going to assign greet as goodbye. So now both the function, even this test function will take greet as goodbye, and even this echo will take greet as goodbye, and that is why we have got this output called goodbye and goodbye. So if you want to give line breaks here, you can definitely give line breaks. You can see line break worked here. Even if you want, you can give the line break here as well or here as well, right? So let me add it here. Now again go back, refresh. You can see the output now, correct? So hello world is the first. Next I change it to goodbye, and that is why we have got goodbye and goodbye here, right? So this is how we can use global keyword when you are using functions. Now I'm going to show you how do we actually sort in an array, right? Sorting. So I'll show you there are different types of sorting available. For index sorting, you have sort and R sort, and for associative arrays you have A sort and AR sort. Right? Let me just show you an example of sorting an array in index, right? So indexed array. So let me create an array. So here I'm going to create an array of colors is equal to okay, let me create array first. So array of, I'm going to create as red, blue, right? So again green, right? So I've created an array now, array of red, blue and green. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to sort it. Now sort function is used for sorting the elements of indexed array in ascending order. If you want the values in ascending order, then you'll have to use sort colors, right? Now I'm going to print this. You can use print R as well, right? So print R for echo as well. So you can use that. Close it. Now go back and check the output. Refresh. Array first it is arranged in ascending order. Now you can see blue, green and red comes last. But here it is red, blue and green, right? So this is how you can use sorting for ascending order. Now if you want to sort it for descending order, what you can use R sort. So you can use R sort here for descending order. Now red will come first, green will come second, blue will come last. Refresh. You can see red come first, green and blue, right? So this is used for indexed array, but for associative array you will have to use A sort and AR sort, right? So for associative arrays, so the same way you can use it directly there. You'll have to create ascend. For example, you will have to create associative here, right? So maybe I'm going to give 20 here, then again I'm going to give associative here 21, then again I'm going to give it as 23. So now I'm going to use A sort. Again go back, refresh. You can see it now. Red comes first, blue next, green. Now if I want to use AR sort, again refresh. 23 comes first, 21 comes second, 20 comes last, right? So this is for associative arrays. So if you are using indexed array, then you can directly use sort and R sort. If you are using associative array, you will have to use A sort and AR sort, right? So that is how you can do that.